So Savion Red reportedly is going to the transfer portal. That was reported by Pete Thamel yesterday. So Savion Red, I don't know how official it is, but it was reported by multiple sites after Pete Thamel reported that Savion Red is expected to hit the transfer portal. That's the bad news for Texas. That would make 6 players total now for the Longhorns in the transfer portal. In addition to Savion Red at the running back position, you have Samaje Burrell at linebacker, Peyton Kirkland at offensive line. He is reportedly headed to Colorado. He's already found a spot. So he's going to hook up there with Dion. Billy Walton and Jamon Tapp, edge rushers who are also deciding to hit the transfer portal. And remember, Zach Swanson, that news broke over the weekend. I don't think we actually even discussed that. Also, another defensive lineman. So technically, 3 D linemen for Texas hitting the transfer portal, 1 linebacker, 1 offensive lineman, and now a running back. So that's 6 players with the transfer portal. And if you go look at it, 0 career starts among that group, 35 appearances in games. 21 of those appearances have come from Savion Red. So he was, of the guys that are transferring, he did contribute the most in that red cat package, most as a short yardage weapon. I'm not sure if that is still going to be a weapon going forward. Also, Patrick, I think the weight gain, him getting up to 240 pounds. Remember, I said that's strange. Either that was something the coaches have been encouraging him to do because they want to use him and weaponize him in a different way, utilize him in a different way, or man, the offseason got out of control for my man Savion Red. And I think it may have been the latter. Sark implied that no, they did not have some plan for Savion Red to get up to 240 pounds. So I think that combined with, I mean, look how deep they are at running back. It's just that simple. He was in the spring game at the end of the spring game. Remember, he was in there for that game-winning drive for his team, and he did contribute, actually made a lot of plays on that drive. But the downside is if he's in there on the last drive of the game in the spring game, that means a lot of the other players, including 2 of the freshmen that came in, are either already on his level depth chart-wise or have already surpassed him depth chart-wise.
Yeah, I mean, if we say we know there's going to be Jaden Blue and CJ Baxter ahead of him. You then throw in a Trey Wisner who has been climbing up the boards. And then you have 2 freshmen that are right there as well. It's I mean, if you say 6, that's, that's a point where you might just say, okay, it's time for me to move on and get a better place. And, it is. And you never know. Yeah, the off season, maybe he's, there could be plenty of reasons for that as well, where a change of scenery could help everything for him, get him back on track where he wants to be and get him some time on the playing field. We know the talent that he has, so wish him the best.
Yeah, I like Savion Red too. I mean, came in as an athlete, was that wide receiver, moved to running back. So, he was an unselfish player, moved to running back for you, and actually needed him. You needed him in some of those short yardage situations in the Red Cat. So hopefully it works out for him. He's a DFW kid, so it's a good chance. I remember he was originally committed to SMU, if I'm not mistaken. So I could see him heading right back on up to DFW and finding him a place at one of those schools there. All right, that's departures for Longhorns. That makes 6 of them, and I think they'll probably get closer to 9, maybe even 10 guys total in the transfer portal. I don't think they're done because Sark's having his meetings now with players, and Sark's very honest with guys about where they stand on the depth chart. So maybe some of these guys are not going to like what they hear in those meetings. So you'll start to hear more players hitting the transfer portal. Speaking of transfer portal acquisitions, Bill Norton, who was on campus for the spring game and D tackle from Arizona. Originally, remember, he committed to Georgia. He spent 4 years at Georgia before transferring to Arizona, where he hooked up with Johnny Nansen, who is now the co-DC at Texas. He was the defensive coordinator there at Arizona. And so he knows the Nansen system really well. 6'6", 325. Sark said after the spring game, they need more big humans. They need more bodies on the D-line, specifically the interior D-line. That's exactly what they're getting in Bill Norton. This is a guy that can play the A-gap. 395 snaps played by Norton were split almost equally in the A and the B gaps. So that is good news. Texas needs an A gap disruptor. They got defensive linemen. Most of those guys are 3 techniques. He can play the A gap. They would line him up over the nose. He can also play the 1 technique if you need him to play that. So Texas gets their interior D lineman, and the World Administrators are looking for more. Jay Toya, who they also hosted on a recruiting visit at the spring game, Patrick, he reportedly is deciding to stay at UCLA. So that makes it even more important that the kid Dominique Wilkins from the Dominic Williams, excuse me. So I always say Dominic Wilkins for some reason. Dominic Williams from TCU,
Yes.
the freshman All-American. It makes it even more important that they seal the deal. He is coming on a recruiting visit to Texas, but he also is visiting Oklahoma and some other schools too. But he is, from what I understand, a guy who has a tremendously high upside and a guy that's going to play on Sundays. Not saying these other guys won't, but that's what kind of ceiling Dominic Williams has. So now, if you're not going to get Jay Toya, and my man Bobby Bird says they're going to get at least 2 defensive linemen in this transfer portal spring window. Bill Norton would be one. You got Savea earlier this year, who was teammates with Bill Norton. So there's familiarity with just those two. Dominic Williams is another guy they're going to try to get. And if they don't get him, then I could say that the Longhorns may try to look elsewhere. But right now, I bet he is their main target.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's where they're going to be looking right there from TCU. A little update on basketball transfers.
Yes, sir.
Jordan Pope has said he will be making his decision tomorrow evening. Jordan Pope is the 6'2", 6'3" transfer guard out of Oregon State, a really good scorer. He will be replacing Tyrese Hunter in that lineup if he decides to come to Texas. He's basically deciding between Texas and Texas A&M, but he should be making his decision tomorrow, is what he is told on 3, I believe, that they posted that he'll be making that decision tomorrow. Another guy, Brandon Garrison, 6'11" center from Oklahoma State, is in the portal. He was actually at Texas over the spring game over the weekend. He was at the spring game, checking that out. His choices are between Texas, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State, returning to Oklahoma State. He's from the Oklahoma area, so he's deciding if he wants to stay in Oklahoma or come to Texas to be a part of that. I don't know when his decision will be made, but he is one of those guys that would definitely add in another big, where your only real big that you feel can play big minutes is Caden Shedrick. So you'd like to be able to add another guy, 6'11". He was a true freshman last year, played some minutes for Oklahoma State, so could come in and still has a lot of room to grow. So it would be a big pickup for Rodney Terry in Texas there. And then finally, I'm going to try and pronounce this name. The kid from Air Force, Reedus Retritus. Reedus Retritus, I believe is his name. 6'7" forward from Air Force. It would be coming in as a junior, I believe, but can score around the basket. I think he would play a little bit more kind of in a Brock Cunningham-ish role if they got him where he was. We're not necessarily as much of a scrapper as Brock is, but a guy who can score around the basket, has a decent three-point shot. He shot over 40% from 3 when he was taking those, can score around the basket really well, good passer, good vision, but someone that could come in that Zarek Oyinma, Kendall Weaver kind of guy where you got that transfer last year that weren't necessarily going to get a ton of minutes, but if he shows up and can be a rotation player, he can fit into that rotation. But it would help you out if you get a big guy. You definitely want to try and get another big in there because you're looking at Caden Shedrick, and then other than that, it's really Jason Kintz there right now, and Nick Cody's coming in, but you'd like to have another big. And then Reedus Petritus, if he comes in, that was actually the first recruit they had on campus here for the transfer portal. If he came in, it would be another addition for this Texas team to add in a little bit more depth, and another player that you never know. You never know when these guys take a step up in conference. Do they fit in better, or is it a little too big for them? But, Kendall Weaver, we saw fit right in when he got there. Yeah. So you love to bring in a couple more guys, but Jordan Pope is probably your biggest one because that would be your starting point guard day one.
That's that's interesting, man, because Rodney Terry started out the transfer portal spring window like gangbusters.
Yeah.
Got a lot of guys in. Things have settled down a little bit, but you said they got their eye on a couple of guys.
You got their eye on a couple of guys. And updates on Tyrese Hunter has committed to Memphis, playing for Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers. He will be headed there. And Chris Johnson, the guy who came in as a freshman last year, played a few minutes for Texas, didn't play any big minutes, is at Stephen F. Austin. So went down a little bit. That's something you can do now. If you want to get playing time, you go down a level, try and dominate at that level, and then you can come back up on another transfer.
That's a good point. Good point there, and good breakdown there, Patrick. We appreciate that. All right, let's get to some NBA discussion here. I want to play some audio of Tim Hardaway talking about the Dallas Mavs. You know, his son obviously plays for the Mavs, and the Mavs are in action tonight. I'll be taking on the Clippers tonight in Game 2. But just to recap, last night you did have more drama in the Game 2, first bout, I should say, of Game 2, the first round of Game 2 games in the first round of the NBA playoffs. The Denver Nuggets had no business winning that game, 101-99 against the Lakers, but they found a way to win after being down. They're down 68-48 at one point early in the third quarter. And they battled back. They were down double digits going into the fourth quarter. It didn't matter. They battled back. Jamal Murray was the story of the game. He wasn't the leading scorer, but he's the one that got the game winner. And additionally, in the game winner, this is a guy that started out. He was struggling in that matchup early on, but found his groove. Missed his first 13 of his first 16 shots, but the fourth quarter, he was clutch. 14 fourth quarter points for Jamal Murray, 6 of 8. He didn't stop shooting, and thank God he didn't, Patrick, because he was the one to lead them back in the fourth quarter and hit the game-winning shot.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an issue of sticking it out at a certain point. Those shot percentages normally even out, and you can't give up big leads like that in these games. I know both teams, both the Lakers and Philadelphia, were complaining about officiating, but at a point you can't allow big leads like that. You have to understand that it's going to be that. I get it. I can understand why you're upset with the calls that both teams are upset with, but at the end of the day, in the playoffs, especially if you're a veteran like LeBron, you have to understand to get past those moments and not allow, leads that they were still up double digits. That was in the third quarter when that play happened in that call. They were still up double digits when they overturned a call on D'Angelo Russell where D'Angelo Russell got hit in the face. And I get it. It didn't affect the shot. He got hit after, but it's still a foul. I don't know why they changed it, but you got to get past that.
If you look at the Lakers' largest blown leads in the playoffs in the last 25 seasons, that was the second largest in the last 25 seasons. The only blown lead for the Lakers in the playoffs that was bigger than that was 2008 NBA Finals. They had a 24-point lead against the Boston Celtics and ended up losing that game. So pretty disastrous outcome for the LA Lakers, and the Denver Nuggets now up 2-0 in that series. You also saw some late drama with the Knicks and the 76ers. Also another game where the Knicks had no business winning that game. They really didn't they had no business winning that game. Essentially what happened, and they ended up making history. They were down 5 points with 30 seconds left in that game and found a way in the final 30 seconds to pull out a win. It was disastrous for the 76ers, but it was just the fourth time in dating back to 1996-97 season, the fourth time a team won a playoff game after trailing by at least 5 points in the last 30 seconds. They get the DiVincenzo three-pointer to seal the deal, another game-winning shot in the playoffs here for Game 2 of the first round for the New York Knicks, and it's really interesting. They, once again, like I said, they had no business winning that game. Their star, Jalen Brunson, he is shooting right now 29% in the first 2 games of that series.
No, he had more shots than points, I believe, in this game, which is it's one of those things, I know we had somebody text into us yesterday about Luka Doncic and saying he didn't have a great game because he scored 30-some points. And you're like, he did it though, like 28 shots, something like that. You can't. It's all about
inefficient.
Yeah, those inefficient shots. They kill you in these games because those are all can be points going the other direction. You hate to see that Jalen Brunson is right now just, they're playing him really well, and I don't get why he's necessarily struggling so much. He's been really good. He was good in the playoffs before. So I don't know what his issue is right now. If it's an injury, he shot he had 24 points. He was 8 for 29.
29.
Yeah, he took 5 more shots than
he was 8 for 26 in game 1.
Yeah,
8 for 29, 8 for 26.
I don't know what his issue is right now, but he has to go into the gym. He has to this is the same thing as, we talked about LeBron having to move past fouls and not let that be an issue and just say, okay, no, we have to focus on the fact that we had a 20-point lead on this team. And how do we do that? And how do we create that for 48 minutes and not for 40 or 32 or whatever they did it for? We have to figure out how to create that. Screw the refs. We'll play through them. If we have a 20-point lead and they miss a call, we have an 18-point lead. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to be the end of the game. So I think you have to move past that. For Jalen Brunson, he needs to clear his brain, whatever it is. Maybe going on the road will be good for him. We know that it's for certain guys. You get in there, Philadelphia, not known to be friendly to opposing teams. So I'm sure that he will get enough hatred and everything else that maybe that will let him focus himself a bit more. But yeah, he has been the fact they're up 2-0 right now.
It's amazing.
With him playing as poorly as he has been playing, and no Julius Randle, other injuries on that team right now. It's crazy because this is a good. We talked about it yesterday. This is a Philadelphia team that, in all reality, shouldn't be a 7 seed.
Nope.
The Embiid's injury is why they're a 7 seed. So they're a better team than that. I know they really wanted that win yesterday, but it'll be. I think they're coming in with new focus, and it would not surprise me at all if they win the next 2 games. Philadelphia at home.
Okay. Yeah. If Jalen Brunson keeps playing like that, they'll have a really good chance because this is the worst that he's played all season long, and it is at the most inopportune time. All right, we'll push that audio of Tim Hardaway. We'll push it. We'll play either next segment. If not, we can play it during the 9 o'clock when we start previewing the games tonight for the NBA playoffs. But on the other side, we'll go behind the burnt orange curtain. I got a couple of nuggets, some clues. I put on my football investigator hat, some clues that I picked up from the spring game that may give us a glimpse at what Sark wants to do to take this offense to the next level. We'll get into that on the other side right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the Horn.